This is Gerald Clark with you today. I'm going to be answering some questions from my YouTube channel videos. Christa took the liberty of recording 4 of them for me.
This question is from the Mayan Fifth Sun video by Gerald Clark. The question is from Stacy Stroker. Wow, I didn't think I was going to be able to follow. For a bit, I couldn't. So when are we mid-sinusoidal wave? That's when we hit a mass awakening? At least that's what I understand as to what happens. I'll watch that part again. And the Montauk participants, psychics, saying this is a constructed time they couldn't pass? What does that mean? I have been trying to talk about a simulated reality with my very Christian bro-in-law all holiday, and we are not getting anywhere. But my head has been spinning with seemingly new and non-stop download of info for the past week. I don't know what to do about it. Thank you for sharing. Would love to listen to you and Christa exchange ideas, though.
So I brought up this picture for you all here. Jennifer Assad posted this picture of 3413. Call out to Jennifer. Thank you for doing this. It's actually a very good diagram. The flow is this direction, and you can see here's where it, so if you start here, go to here, you create a full wave, going from the house of Leo to the house of Leo. So the question is, from Stacy Stroker, is when are we mid-sinusoidal wave? Will we be mid right here or mid right here? And these are essentially the points. So you've got actually, let's just use these points. This one at Leo and this one at Pisces Aquarius. So Virgo Leo boundary and Pisces Aquarius boundary, it looks like is where it happens. Okay. So, as everybody knows, we're in the house of Pisces and we're entering Aquarius now. So, somewhere in between this zone right here, the question is answered. So when are we mid this point right here? Well, let's kind of just do a theoretical estimate. Jennifer says our sun and solar system spends 12,000 years above the galactic equator and 12,000 years below. Okay, well, if that's the case, it doesn't account for the full time of 25,920. So let's assume we're being theoretical here. So if she's right, then that's 24,000 years. Take that away from 25,920. You got about 1,920 years it takes to go through this little band right here, here and here, okay? So the question is, let's be clear, if we want it to be midpoint, then well, let's calculate that. We need it to be 1,920 divided by 2. Okay, we can do this in our head, but it's fun doing it here. So 960 years is the time you enter the first degree of Aquarius to the time that you transit to the exact midpoint. If we assume 12,000 above, 12,000 below, and the theoretical time from peak to peak, which takes 25,920 years. Okay? So hopefully that will answer that question. The second part of her question had to do with the Montauk participants and saying that they reached a limit at about 2012, 2013, which was approximately the end of the Mayan calendar. That's why I introduced that in the Mayan calendar, fifth sun and ascension timing, is they found some limit in the constructs of time that they couldn't time travel beyond. That's what they were saying. So let's go take a look at that real quick. Time travel project by the government. Supposedly they met an artificial boundary that they couldn't go past. They blamed it on the psionic person who had an interface to the system that was mentally controlled as coming up with the reason they couldn't transcend this boundary, but got some corroborating evidence to essentially say that that was the case. Well, if the Demiurgus, in conjunction with his people, Enlil and his clan on this planet, had set up a electromagnetic, I guess you would say, a hologram, such that the brain waves of humans could be controlled and sensed and all that, slave planet. If that's the case, then what Thoth's calendar through the Mayans shows is when we reach this place where essentially their enslavement techniques cannot work 100%, because the energy that starts happening at the galactic center, Let's go back to that picture again. The energy that starts happening right here, basically for 1,920 years, and probably the middle of it's the peak, but this whole band is going to be energetically very active, okay? And probably even entering the first degree of it's enough to wake a human up. That's speculation on my part, but look around you, what's happening, okay? So anyway, so if that's the case, and the creator of all created a hologram of the holographic universe, maybe we should look at that just real quick, okay? So here's a picture from me about the holographic universe that we're probably going to talk about a little bit more through this question and answer session. Okay, so as far as the Montauk project hitting this boundary that the long count calendar from the Mayans had predicated as the end of their Tzolk'in calendar and the beginning of universal consciousness, I think that's an interesting correlation. All right, let me go on to the next one here.
The following questions are from Gerald Clark's Threat Briefing Analysis. Heather Smith asked, lastly, this morning, I want to throw this out there. You know how everyone says we're in a soul trap, our souls are trapped? What does that mean? I've always wondered, and then it hit me not too long ago. Maybe our 3D meat suits, our body, our vehicles is the trap. Here that the aliens, Anunnaki, whatever, designed and wired us into. What do you think?
So what is it? So we're supposedly in a soul trap. What does it mean? People are talking about this, a soul trap. I went over to this page to see what the soul trap brought up, and there was just all kinds of stuff here. People have written books about it, several books. Here's another one. So let me give you my discussion from, I guess, an energetic standpoint. If we start with the idea that all of us are born into this simulated reality, into what Thoth calls the illusion of Ka, and many other religions and spiritual practices have the same allegory or symbolism about the intransience or the impermanence of the material world, that it's an illusion. They call it Maya, the illusion. That was another name for it. Well, let's just assume that we're all born into this illusion, a skewed perception prison, such that this energy that we're born into, this differentiation of our energy, one is a very basic energy that allows you to function, and the other one is more for walking a spiritual path and trying to get to the highest place you can in this ascension simulator that you can, okay? And the first one's the Ka, and the second was the Ba. So as far as that goes, we're all born into a soul trap such that if you don't wake up your higher energy and light up your chakras and start having the kind of experiences you're probably going to have in the next dimension without a body, then I'd say the body is the trap, and the solution is also in the body. So it's not only the trap, but it's also the way out. So the rest of the question discussed or made the suggestion maybe our 3D meat suits or vehicle is the trap. In other words, just saying that however the Anunnaki designed us into our bodies, that's a trap. Well, that is true, okay? And it's true for probably other dimensions as well. If you create a species, you're probably going to quarantine it until it's at the right place where it's functional, first of all. And second of all, if it has to do with ascension and going to higher dimensions, I'm sure that there's going to be tests involved. So the question is, okay, did they wire us so that we could still participate in that? And the answer is yes. First of all, if Enki gave the first Adapa intelligence comes from the creator of all. So we were wired from the very beginning with the mind of the creator of all and a sun soul spirit that could connect back to the creator of all if we were willing to wake up the energy that we were born into, and that's the call. Okay, it didn't matter whether the Anunnaki did it to us or whatever. It seems to be what's allowed by the cycle masters in this dimension. Okay, next question.
Susan Mann asked, Gerald Clark, in Emerald Tablet 5, the Dweller of Unal, Thoth mentions that far in the future, invaders will come out of the deep. He tells of his spaceship being buried beneath the Sphinx pyramid, and that when these invaders come, to bring his spaceship out and defeat them with ease. Has anyone ever found the passage that you are aware of? I wonder if any with bad intent who may have studied the emerald tablets would be able to solve the secret and see the wall fall. What say ye? I find I end up using the word ye instead of you after reading the emerald tablets. I thought I had heard just recently some things about the pyramid and a new passage being found. Is it possible that they are finding the passage that ends in a wall? I mean, if this is the end, it would have to be now that Thoth's spaceship is to be found, right? Side note, when I asked whose information I should study for truth, a very special someone gave me yours and Sitchin's name. Said the two of you were closer to the truth than any others. And that's the truth.
From Susan Mann. She's referring to Emerald Tablet 5, and I have to correct myself. I stated the dweller of Unal. I'm going to bring this over for just a second so you guys can see it. I stated in the Emerald Tablet, or in my analysis, that the dweller of Unal, because of the fantastic abilities that were godlike, that the only god on Atlantis was Enki Poseidon, which I believe from the rulership standpoint that's the case, but there were some very advanced teachers here in Atlantis that Thoth had an encounter with in this temple on the island of Unal. There was Unal or Undal, depending on how it was pronounced. They mentioned both of them. Anyway, he talks about this dweller, and it turns out, I want to put this out there for you guys, that the dweller of Atlantis may not have been Enki as I thought, but very much connected to Enki and the Cycle Masters, but is actually the one they called Horlet, okay? And the amazing part of this story, and you can go into this if you want, from Dorial's book on page, what page was it? I don't remember. I'll look it up for you guys. But he discusses his past life as many past lives, one of which was as Horlet, the dweller of Unal. So I thought that was absolutely fascinating. Okay, so let's get on to this question. Has anyone found this passage that Thoth talks about where his spaceship is over in the halls of Amenti? I'm sorry, underneath the Giza pyramid. So let's go take a look over there. There's been all kinds of stuff. He actually gives you enough verbal description where you can draw a map, okay? And I think several people here have drawn a map. Oh, here's one right here. So, oh, there's another one here. So basically, if you drew a line through and created the structure that he asked you to, you could see exactly where he was telling you to go into the Great Pyramid to find this secret hall, and you could access an underground chamber and find this aircraft that he says could be raised up and used against foreign invaders from the deep when the time came. That was very interesting. I'm sure, I mean, let's think about this. Do you think people haven't been looking for that since 1925 when the Emerald Tablets were released? Of course they have. Have they found it? Probably. I mean, if you just look at how the Egyptian Antiquities Department, and I won't name any names, everybody knows who I'm talking about, the lid that they've kept on the information coming out of Giza and all the lies that have come out of there to cover up the truth. It's absolutely amazing, and many people have gone in there supplemental to find out what the real truth is, including functionally what they were used for, blah, blah, blah. Ascension chambers, never having a body buried in there. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting thought. So have they found it? Probably yes. And the question is really, who would have found it? Somebody from light or somebody from the dark? Well, it looks like the dark forces surrounded the place for a very long time. So they could very well have it in their possession. But I suspect that Thoth has mechanisms to protect his craft and information about how to control it. So anyway, okay. Let's go on to the next question.
Ian Jacqueline, Ka energy, Enki's creator was who? Great Spirit or capital G, God? Establish Ba? Okay, I know of Merkaba, so we'll check it out more. Wow, thanks, man. There is a Great Spirit or capital G, God, right? Source? So
I answered the first part for him, discussing that. And before I go off and finish that, I wanted to mention in my first book, I looked up Jim Hertog, who had done a video called Chambers of the Deep, where he was discussing many of the finds that have been found under the pyramids, okay? And I know a lot of stuff is coming out right now about that, and I've been watching it as well. Some really, really great stuff. According to Thoth, the entire area underneath the Giza complex is covered with underground facilities leading to the halls of Amenti, where he would go to renew his body. Okay, and it was also mentioned as being accessible from Atlantis. Okay, so let me go back to this discussion from Ian Jacqueline asking about our Ka energy. I think I just discussed the Ka energy previously. Enki's creator was who? Well, ultimately, all the seeds of life were created by the creator of all. Now, whether he was produced biologically by his parents and progeny and then carrying all our spirit just like we do, that's probably the case, but Enki's creator was the creator of all, just like ours. Okay? The next part was, what about the Great Spirit, or capital G? And I thought this was a good time to go into this. So I talk a lot about, in my holographic diagram, let's go back over to that for a second before I go to this one. In this diagram, we start out, in this particular, I like this one better. We start out at the Earth, 3 energetic boundaries, and then surrounded by the Van Allen belt. We go through the duat. When we finally get to the place, we have to have this Ba energy active to do it. No Ba, no Ki. You stop and you go back. Okay, that's what that means. So this being that created Enki lives here in the circle of light. And you can see that this being, this energy source, this infinite creation, he calls it lots of different names. You can call it Great Spirit, capital G. He does finally call it God, by the way, later in the documents. But he calls it Great Spirit. He calls it the Source. Several other names. Okay, living in the circle of light. So this, in their understanding, is the creator of all, both in this galaxy and many others. So during this law of creation here that's shown here, all matter, that includes beings, okay, plants, animals, humans, all created from an energetic template from the law of creation. And let's see, what else did he want to know? He wanted to know about the Merkaba. The Merkaba is a meditation to activate your Ba field that was introduced thousands of years ago, but as part of the Flower of Life teachings that come from Valo Melchizedek. And we've included those on playlists for you. You can look up Merkaba, Merkaba, but I used to do it daily. And it actually, once you activate your Merkaba field, you don't have to do it daily, but if you do it daily for 2 weeks, you can activate that field, okay? It's only 17 breaths. It's a very worthwhile doing. So I think I answered the question from Ian. Okay, last question.
Robin Papalukas, what is the solution? How do humans overcome this?
Okay, now this one, this is a hard one. This comes from the threat briefing analysis, and Robin Papalukas 2 weeks ago wanted to know, what's the solution? How do we overcome this occupation from alien forces that have taken up and created a coalition against us, if you will? I'm going to bring the answer over here since I have it. Okay, so what is the solution? I offered up a few bullet points here to talk about it. Is it the ultimate solution? Well, I don't know, but it's something we could do now. And I think some people have formed groups relative to a disclosure about exopolitical activities between our government and aliens. I don't think they're ever going to disclose that, especially after what they've been doing. They can't possibly. So I don't care if there's 5 million, 10, 100 million people, they're still not going to do that. So yes, we could form a foundation like this to promote freedom, but don't expect the government to acknowledge and give you any authorization to do it. It just needs to be done, okay? And that goes for the truth, too. Listen, no authority figure from a lying institute like the government needs to tell you it's true or not. You know in your spirit it is, so don't waste your time with that. Okay, one of the other things is, in 1934, we made an agreement with gray aliens to allow them to abduct us while they gathered our DNA. Well, first of all, if you know there's an alien force out there and you don't think you can beat it and you want to join it, if you can't beat them, join them, right? Why not do your research and look at one that may have had some benevolence toward mankind, not one that wanted to abduct you and perpetuate its artificial life form? So, and the thing is, so the 1934 original contract that was made in Panama on a naval ship in Balboa, that apparently kind of fell apart, and then it was renewed in 1954 under Eisenhower. So Laura Eisenhower's been out talking about this in significant detail about this contract that her grandfather made with these aliens, okay? And again, it was a continuation with the same ones from the Markov Foundation. So, the reality is the United States government and many other governments, probably all of them across the world, have been approached by both the good ones and the bad ones. Okay? And if they decided to participate with, I don't know, domain forces or this coalition of 5 that's mentioned in the KGB report, we could probably throw off those that are occupying us, but I don't know that we could do it ourselves. Bring to justice all those that are aiding and abetting this alien occupation, okay? And that includes human trafficking, the arms race, all the things that have been done to the food, with the genetic experiments, with all the different diseases that have been introduced to the population, to colon and blah, blah, blah. All of this needs to come to light, okay? And hopefully the current coalitions of governments that are aligned with hopefully these ones will see that that's going to happen. And actually, I have a little feeling that might be exactly what's going on right now. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all these, but basically everybody's got to be on the same path in terms of their soul path, okay? And if they're caught up in an energy that's caught them in a skewed perception prison that's going to cause them to act out in baseness or something that's going to end up getting your civilization destroyed, this needs to be a forefront in determining, okay, what do we got here? Who are the players, okay? Definitely the money system needs to be dismantled. The fact that they've used economic enslavement to keep most people occupied, working to just have their basic sustenance so that they can't be involved in waking up, dealing with all the things that are involved in coming to grips with the truth about our real reality. This has to be changed. And, the reality is we got to make a statement as humans here. Whether we were the first ones here or not, we're the ones here in charge now, on behalf of the Anunnaki who made us, who've called us their fellow peers by now because we've evolved to become the Anunnaki. We need to uninvite all those that are hostile to humanity, including hostile factions of the Anunnaki, okay? I don't care who they are. If they're not here and benevolent to us, they don't need to be here. And I like the idea that if you read Plato's discussion about the principles of Atlantis that were set up for the people before they fell, those same principles have to do with your character qualities that are eternal, as well as wisdom being eternal. So I think having a civilization based on not competition to get resources to pay for your house and your food so you can have more of yourself, but one that's based on reaching the highest state for the civilization spiritually, mentally, both mind, spirit, and body, okay? So I think that's important. And as I mentioned before, just for fun, when you see cowboys and aliens, you might be encouraged that, maybe there's a reason they want to take our guns away, because the reality is if they have biological bodies, they can be killed too. Not that I'm encouraging that. Hopefully it can be done through dialogue, but we are where we are. So I'm going to stop right there. It's been about 20 minutes. Gerald Clark with 7th Planet Broadcasting, 12/2/2007. Have a good holiday.